At 127 years old, Sarah passed away at Kiriath Arba, which is now called Hebron, in the land of Canaan. There Abraham mourned and wept for her. He then left her body and went to the Hittite elders and said, "Here I am, a stranger in a foreign land, with no place to bury my wife. Please, let me have a piece of land for a burial plot." The Hittites replied to Abraham, "Certainly, for you are an honored prince among us. It will be a privilege to have you choose the finest of our tombs, so that you can bury her there." Then Abraham bowed low before them and said, "Since this is how you feel, be so kind as to ask Ephron, son of Zohar, to let me have the cave of Machpelah, down at the end of his field. I want to pay the full price, of course, whatever is publicly agreed on, so I may have a permanent burial place for my family." Ephron was sitting among the elders, and so he answered Abraham as the others listened, speaking publicly in front of all the elders of the town. "No, sir," he said to Abraham, "please listen to me. I will give you the cave and the field. Here in the presence of my people, I give it to you. Go and bury your dead there." Abraham bowed again to the people of the land and said to Ephron in front of everyone there, "No, listen to me," he insisted. "I will buy it from you. Let me pay the full price for the field." "Well," Ephron answered, "the land is worth 400 pieces of silver, but what is that between friends? Go ahead and bury your dead." So Abraham paid the 400 pieces of silver, as publicly agreed. He had bought the land belonging to Ephron at Machpelah near Mamre, which included the field, the cave, and all the trees nearby. It all became Abraham's permanent possession by the agreement made in the presence of the Hittite elders at the city gate. So Abraham buried Sarah there in Canaan, in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron. The Lord had blessed Abraham in every way, and he was now a very old man. One day Abraham said to the man in charge of his household, who was his oldest servant, "Swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not let my son marry one of these local Canaanite women. Go instead to my homeland and find a wife there for my son Isaac." "But suppose I can't find a young woman who will travel so far from home. May I then take Isaac there to live among your relatives?" asked the servant. "No, be careful never to take my son there, for the Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and native land, solemnly promised to give this land to my offspring. He will send his angel ahead of you, and he will see to it that you find a young woman there to be my son's wife. If she is unwilling to come back with you, you are then free from this oath. But under no circumstances are you to take my son there." So the servant took a solemn oath that he would follow Abraham's instructions. He then loaded 10 of Abraham's camels with gifts and set out, taking with him the best of everything his master had owned. He then traveled to Aram Naharaim and went to the village where Abraham's brother Nahor had settled. There the servant made the camels kneel down beside a well just outside the village. It was evening time. The women were coming out to draw water. "O Lord God of my master," he prayed, "give me success and show kindness to my master Abraham. Help me to accomplish this purpose of my journey. See, I am here, standing beside this spring, and the young women of the village are coming out to draw water. This is my request. I will ask one of them for a drink. If she says, 'Yes, certainly,' and I will water your camels too, let her be the one you have chosen as Isaac's wife. By this I will know you have chosen kindness to my master." While he was still praying, a young lady named Rebecca arrived with a jug of water on her shoulder. Her father was Bethuel, who was the son of Abraham's brother Nahor and his wife Milcah. Rebecca was a virgin and a very beautiful woman. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came up again. Running over to her, the servant asked, "Please, give me a drink." She replied, "Certainly, sir," and quickly lowered the jug for him to drink. When he had finished drinking, she then told him that she will quickly go and draw water for his camels until they had enough water. Then quickly emptied her jug into the watering trough and ran back down to the well. She kept bringing more water to the camels until they had finished drinking. The servant watched her in silence, wondering whether or not she was the one the Lord intended him to meet. At last, when the camels had finished drinking, he gave her a golden ring for her nose and 2 large golden bracelets. He then proceeded to ask her who her father was, and if he had enough room for them to sleep over for the night. She replied, "My father is Bethuel, and my grandparents are Nahor and Milcah. Yes, we have plenty of straw and food for the camels, as well as room for guests too." The man then fell down to the ground and worshipped the Lord. "Praise be to the Lord God of my master Abraham," he said. "The Lord has been so faithful and kind to Abraham, for he has led me straight to my master's relatives." The young lady ran home to tell her family all that had happened. Rebecca had a brother named Laban. When he had seen the gold that his sister had been wearing, and when he heard the story of what had happened, he immediately ran down to the spring where the man and his camels were still standing. Laban then said to him, "Come and stay with us, you who are blessed by the Lord. Why do you stand here outside the village when you have a room all ready for you and a place prepared for your camels?" The man then went home with Laban. Laban then unloaded the camels, gave him straw to bed them, fed them, and gave them water for the camel drivers to wash their feet. By that time, supper was then served. But Abraham's servant didn't want to eat until he told them why he had come. "All right, tell us your mission," said Laban. "I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord has blessed my master richly," he explained. "He has become a great man. The Lord has given him flocks of sheep, herds of cattle, a fortune of silver and gold, many servants, camels, and donkeys. When my master's wife Sarah was very old, she gave birth to my master's son, and my master has given his son everything he owns. My master made me swear that I would not let Isaac marry one of the local Canaanite women. Instead, I had to come to his relatives here in this far-off land, to his father's house. I was told to bring back a young lady from here to marry his son. But suppose I can't find a young lady willing to come back with me," I asked him. "You will," he told me, "for the Lord, in whose presence I have walked, will send his angel with you and will make your mission successful. You must get a wife for my son among my relatives, from my father's family. But if my relatives refuse to let her come, you will be free from your oath." So when I had reached the spring this afternoon, I prayed this prayer. "O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if you are planning to make my mission a success, please guide me in a special way. Here I am, standing beside the spring. I will say to a young lady who comes to draw water, 'Please, give me a drink of water.' And she will reply, 'Certainly, and I'll water your camels too.' Lord, let her be the one you have selected to be the wife of my master's son." Before I had even finished praying these words, I saw Rebecca coming along with her water jug on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and filled her jug with water. So I said to her, "Please, give me a drink of water." She quickly lowered the jug from her shoulder and let me have a drink. She then said, "Certainly, sir, and I will water your camels too." And she did. When I asked her who her father was, she told me her father's name is Bethuel, the son of Nahor, and his wife Milcah. So I gave her the ring and the bracelets. I then bowed my head and praised the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, because he had led me along the right path to find a wife for my master's son. So tell me, will you or will you not show true kindness to my master when you tell me? Then I will know what to do next." Then Laban and Bethuel replied, "The Lord has obviously brought you here, so what can we say? Here is Rebekah. Take her and go. Yes, let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed." At this reply, Abraham's servant bowed down to the ground and worshipped the Lord. He then brought out silver and gold jewelry and lovely clothing for Rebekah. He also gave valuable gifts to her mother and brother. They then had supper, and the servant and the men with him stayed overnight. But early the next morning he said, "Send me back to my master." "But we want Rebekah to at least stay 10 days, her mother and brother said. "Then she can go." But he said, "Don't hinder my return. The Lord has made my mission successful. I want to report back to my master." "Well," they replied, "we'll call Rebekah and hear what she says." So they called Rebekah. "Are you willing to go with this man?" they asked her. And she replied, "Yes, I will go." So they said goodbye to Rebekah, and she went off with Abraham's servant and his men. The lady that had been Rebekah's childhood nurse went along with her. They blessed her with this blessing as she parted. "Our sister, may you become the mother of many millions. May your descendants overcome their enemies." Then Rebekah and her servants mounted the camels and left. Meanwhile, Isaac, whose home was in the Negev, had returned from Beer-lahai-roi one evening. While he was walking about in the fields meditating, he looked up and saw the camels coming. When Rebekah had seen Isaac, she immediately dismounted. "Who is this man walking through the fields to meet us?" she asked the servant. He replied, saying, "It is my master." So Rebekah covered her face with a veil. Then the servant told Isaac the whole story. Thereafter Isaac brought Rebekah to his mother's tent, and she became his wife. He loved her very much. She was a special comfort to him after his mother's death.